Sorry, this isn't a how-to video. And I heard a prerequisite for prostitution is people want to have sex with you in the first place. Oh, you were just looking for some tips. I bet you were. Moll fucking Flanders, written by men for women. Get up there, you filthy nag. Walk! The old religious terrors of their sleepless night were turning now into a thirst for bestiality. We're talking about whores today. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. We're talking about ladies of the night. Street corner connoisseurs. Prostitutes. Bitches! It has been months since I've sat in front of a camera. That's a lie. I should say, it's been months since I filmed a video for us.
If you're watching this right now and you're like, why is he lying? He's lying. He has filmed videos. I have posted 2 or 3 videos since my hiatus. This was the first video I filmed back from my hiatus, and I have 3 hours of footage. And it's all over the place. And I was like, I don't want to edit this. It's too much. It's too much. And so, put it on the back burner. I was like, this will stay in the vault. I sat down to film this video 3 times. Three. And I was almost going to do it again. Like today. I was like, I'll just film it. I'll cut it down short. It'll be a need to know basis. And then I was like, I'm not fucking filming this again. I can't do it. I hated the books in this video. I don't want to talk about them anymore. So I'm just going to slice and dice this footage. It'll probably take me all day, no big deal. And hopefully it'll be a nicely packaged little piece of shit for you to consume.
If you're new to the party, I'm Charles. And this channel is normally a safe space for prudes. But not today. Certainly not today. We're talking about prostitutes. The real video concept is me using a flashy topic, in this case prostitutes, to trick you into listening to me talk about books. Clickbait. Got you. I knew you were a dumb bitch. But the real prank is, the double plot twist per se if you will, is that every book I read for this video, 3 books, is centered around or prominently features a prostitute. Or more. 1 or more. That's the video concept. Famous literary prostitutes. And each of the books I read for this video is by an extremely renowned author. Like an author who's known for writing classics. Well, I'm pretty sure all of them are dead. Yeah, they're all dead. Rest in peace. Each of them have written books that are on any list of classics you Google. So this video is not, I'm sorry to say, the product of me going on Wattpad and reading pornographic short stories. Although, maybe sometime in the future, I'll sell out and read fan fiction, but not today, baby, not today. Today we're talking about famous literary prostitutes, and we're just gonna go one by one and talk about the books. I am so ready to be done with these books. I was supposed to film this video days ago. Supposed to. I don't have a fucking manager. I have me and my goddamn camera. I don't have to do anything. But I wanted to film this video a few days ago just because once I finish the books for a video, I want to be done, you know? I don't want to have them sitting on my desk. I want to put them on my bookshelf and not think of them again. Particularly if they were bad books. And spoiler alert, these books are not very good. But here we are, a few days late, literally a few days late. I sat down to film this video. This is the 3rd time, and it just didn't work out. It really didn't work out. Yesterday, my car battery died. Had to jump it. Shout out Miller's mom. My car's fine, don't worry. You don't have to buy me a new one. And then the day before that happened, I just had an energy drink and started tweaking, and I couldn't do it. So here I am, 1 cup of coffee only. I actually bought another coffee and I was like, no, don't do it. Stay calm. Try and film the damn video. And so the cup of coffee is sitting on a shelf somewhere in my place. And I didn't drink it. You can congratulate me in the comments below. Let's get into the goddamn books. The books I read for this video are Memories of My Melancholy Horse, which is by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Look, did you see that focus? Look at it focus. Real super fans will know that I've been having troubles with my focus, with the focus on my camera. And it's not because the camera's bad. This bitch was $1,000. I don't know what I'm doing, but the focus wasn't working. One of the videos in the recent past on my channel, I had to film twice because the first time, it was so blurry. It would have been a good prank to post, like, it looked like someone had smeared Vaseline over the lens, and I was, like, really going at it, you know, talking about my damn books, and, you know, the Vaseline was just fucking there. And I sat down to edit it, edited, like, 5 minutes, and then I was like, this won't do. So I refilmed it, but it turns out the only thing I had to do was change the setting from manual focus to autofocus. Who would have thought? Anyway, the first book is Memories of My Melancholy Horse by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Also, I meant to say there aren't spoilers in any of my video reviews unless I explicitly say so. They're more just kind of like broad stroke, what I enjoyed about the book, what I didn't enjoy, like big aspects. We're doing big things on this channel, and I like to apply that to how I review books, big things. Anyway, so no spoilers. Don't worry, baby. I've got you. The next book is Moll Flanders by Defoe. And the last book I read for this video, I actually am telling you these in reverse order, is Emile Zola's Nana. And that's it. I sat down to start organizing my thoughts for this video. Just like some bullet points that I wanted to talk about. And I was so fed up with these books that I was like, no. I'm either talking about these damn books and getting on with my fucking life, or I'm not. So here we are. I can't promise I have gorgeous, hot, sexy things to say, but we're gonna chat about these books. Let's get into the books. The first book, I need to calm down. Welcome to my channel. The first book I read for this video, the first book we're talking about for this video, is Memories of My Melancholy Horse by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is the best book title I have ever come across. It is the only reason I bought this book. When I saw it at Second and Charles, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Second and Charles is a used bookstore, so I paid like $5 for this. And after reading 100 Years of Solitude and really not liking it, boring, outdated, annoying, I hate magical realism, and it was really long, which is like the point, but not for me. I really don't like that book, and I would not recommend it to anyone but a tight ass, so rest in peace if you like that book. After reading it, I purged my bookshelf of every Marquez book that I owned, which happened to be only 2 books, one of which I obviously kept. But I kept this one solely because of the name and plan on never ever reading it. I'm not against a bit of vanity. I'm not against possessing things for vanity's sake. If you expected deep discussions on the intellect and how beauty is in the eye of the beholder, all beauty is within, you've come to the wrong place. I think hot for vanity's sake is gorgeous. And this, for me, was that. Are you kidding me? What a fucking banger of a title. So I kept it. Like I said, never intending to read it till I birthed this video concept. We need to start talking about books. I love Memories of My Melancholy Horse. I never thought I'd be using the words favorite and Gabriel Garcia Marquez, words, whatever, in the same sentence, but here I am. No, this book was not a favorite of all time, but for this video, it was by far my favorite book. The competition was not stiff, let me tell you. It was really fucking good. It is very, very short. It's like a little over 100 pages, and this is how the... I'm trying to flip to a page where there's not an embarrassing annotation. But they're not embarrassing. I'm not being coy. We'll read some quotes later. But this is how the pages look. Very, very spaced out. It takes like 2 seconds to read this book. Memories of My Melancholy Horrors is a first-person, present tense narration by a 90-year-old single man over the course of 1 year. It starts when he turns 90 on his 90th birthday and ends a year later. I say present tense not to prove to you that I passed 3rd grade English class, but because Moll Flanders, the next book we're talking about, was written in past tense, and I read these back to back, and that difference was really apparent, but we'll talk about that with Moll Flanders. But Memories mainly follows the narrator's unfolding relationship with a 14-year-old prostitute. Oh my god, a 14-year-old prostitute. What a pervert. Obviously, I know pedophilia is fucking disgusting. And no, we're not going down the ethics of writing about unethical things, topics, rabbit hole in this video. Maybe if I read Lolita, which I know I still haven't done that, and we talk about it, we can do that then. But we're not doing that in this video. Woven throughout his unfolding relationship with the 14-year-old girl is the narrator looking back on previous relationships he's had with other prostitutes or other women. And it's really good. It's funny, it's pervy, it's smart, it's well written. And to use a word that has now become so overused that it is basically synonymous with sad and therefore meaningless, it's very poignant. But this book is actually poignant because it's written by a 90-year-old single man looking back on his life. That's like textbook poignant. This book reminded me of Ottessa Moshfegh in its unabashed descriptions of the body and in general. It also reminded me of Moshfegh's abrasive humor. It reminded me of John Williams's Stoner, which is a book I fairly recently read and really, really loved. I've not talked about it on the channel, but it's really, really good. But it reminded me of the loneliness of John Williams's Stoner with the humor of Moshfegh, and Philip Roth I also thought of while reading this because of the like very well written perviness and male narrator. Let's get into the meat and bones of this book with some quotes. I knew I was in for the ride from the very first sentence. The first sentence is, "The year I turned 90, I wanted to give myself the gift of a night of wild love with an adolescent virgin." I nearly spit my dentures out at that one. I just wasn't expecting it, which, like, get a grip, you should. The title is Melancholy Horrors, but the quotes are really good. I like his writing a lot more. Not that I really remember it being all that different in 100 Years of Solitude. It just seems more buttoned up then. I think 100 Years of Solitude was his first novel that was written in like, what, the 50s, 40s? I don't know. He was born in the 1920s, 27 maybe. Who's to say? 100 Years of Solitude was his first novel, and this was published in 2004. And by that time, I think he really gave less of a fuck, which is evidenced, of course, by the like very short 100-page novel and title Memories of My Melancholy Horrors. The writing is definitely like of the same vein, but this is less buttoned up, more feral. And I enjoyed this a lot more. It still has notes of the like ethereal, like magical realism, hard to grasp sentiments that are notably a part of 100 Years of Solitude. So if you like those, there's still wisps of it here. It just didn't bother me because that wasn't the dominant flavor of this book. Here's an example of the Moshfegh descriptions I was talking about. Quote, My symptoms at dawn were perfect for not feeling happy. My bones had been aching since the small hours, my asshole burned, and thunder threatened a storm after 3 months of drought. Very mosh fake, very funny. There are lots of notes about aging and seeing yourself as young, even when your body changes, and like not recognizing the body in the mirror, which is a sentiment that growing, aging to my ripe age of 15, I've learned, thought about, whatever, is that like there's no such thing as an adult, that everyone is really just a child and looks different. I don't believe that people change in any fundamental sense. Like, I think that maybe a morbid take, that people stay the same and you can change in certain regards, but fundamentally you're the same person. And that goes hand in hand with the idea that there's no such thing as adults and everybody is just a child grown up. There's a quote in here somewhere that's like, that kind of distills that down into a sentence. But I don't have it bookmarked. I don't use tabs. Maybe I will in the future so we can organize this going through section of the book. Oh, the quote is literally on the damn page that I've been looking at the entire time. It's on page 9. It reads, quote, "The truth is that the first changes are so slow they pass almost unnoticed, and you go on seeing yourself as you always were from the inside, but others observe you from the outside." And then that's the end of the quote. If you're listening and you don't see me look up, you might be confused. Cut that. That's the quote, and there are similar sentiments in different iterations throughout the book, but I agree that people might see you different. I mean, you do change, people age, plot twist, surprise, but I don't think on the inside that people really do change. What an emo take. I think that you can get better as a person. I'm not. We're not. But I just don't, you know? What are your thoughts? Do you think that people change? Do people have the ability to change? Memories brings up a lot of ideas that not that originate with me, but just concepts, ideas, whatever, that I think about fairly often, and there are a lot of them contained within this book about aging and identity and love and regret in a general sense, but then particularly in growing old and being single. Did I say memory? He talks about memory. Here's the quote. "On the other hand, it is a triumph of life that old people lose their memories of inessential things. Amen." Forgetting is so awesome. We would all be such sad, angry, bitter, spiteful people if we didn't forget a whole lot. But that's not a hot take. Here's another quote. "Devoting my time to the erratic rereading of my classics." Amen. That'll be me at 90. I hope I don't make it to that age. I hope I am long gone. Anyway, after the first about 10 pages of him just being like, "I'm old and I want a prostitute for my 90th birthday," which is fairly tame. I mean, in subject matter, it's raunchy, but he just says, he calls it like it is. And then you get to page 12 of my edition. By the way, this is translated by Edith Grossman. Someone tried to beat my ass in a video where I talked about a translated book. I think it was Elena Ferrante's book, My Brilliant Friend, and they were like, how dare you not give the translator the time of day. It's like, get a fucking grip. I showed you the cover of the book. You can see which edition it is. And for modern books that are translated, there's usually only one translation. So like, you can do the extra legwork. If translators, if that's the cross you want to die on, you start a YouTube channel, educate people about what important translators have changed the world, and you can just make videos where you say the book title and who it's translated by. But I'm not reading these books for the translators. I'm sorry. I'm reading them because of the damn author. There's so much I want to talk about in these videos that if I forget, like, the translator, or maybe I will burn in hell, but I'm sorry, it's not on the agenda. This is translated, like I said, by Edith Grossman. I'm sure a lovely woman. Anyway, the story, like, kicks it into high gear at around page 12, and I'm just gonna read you the quote. It's a long one. Buckle up. Get a drink. Buckle up. Quote, "The only unusual relationship was the one I maintained for years with the faithful Damiana. Damiana is his maid." Continuing quote, "She was almost a girl, Indian-like, strong, rustic, her words few and brusque, who went barefoot so as not to disturb me while I was writing. I remember I was reading in the hammock in the hallway when I happened to see her bending over in the laundry room, wearing a skirt so short it bared her succulent curves. Overcome by irresistible excitement, I pulled her skirt up and back, pulled her underwear down to her knees, and charged her from behind. 'Oh, senor,' she said, with a mournful lament, 'that wasn't made for coming in, but for going out.'" A sentence later, "Humiliated at having humiliated her, I wanted to pay her twice what the most expensive women cost at the time, but she would not take a cent, and I had to raise her salary, calculated on the basis of 1 mounting a month, always while she was doing the laundry, and always from the back." I wasn't expecting from Marquez, you know, another phrase I like, my exemplary ugliness, true. Here's another quote from, it's between the narrator, obviously, and the madam of the whorehouse, brothel, bordello, whatever you want to call it. And they're catching up, the two of them, and here's the quote. "The only thing different since the last time we saw each other is that sometimes my asshole burns. Her diagnosis was immediate, lack of use." Here's an example of a quote that just kind of adds to the sad ambiance, poignant, whatever. "We had made love without love, half dressed most of the time and always in the dark so we could imagine ourselves as better than we were." Pretty sad. Quote, "But my notion of youth was so flexible, I never thought it was too late." Amen. This book is so good because it's serious, it's funny, and it's sad. It also doesn't take itself that seriously. But usually when you try and juggle all of those things, like funny, sad, and serious, but like not arrogantly or like academic, like smarter than I am, it's too studied and hard to pull off. But he does it so well that it was just, it was fun to read this book. Here's a sweet quote. "I, the agreeable fiance, learned to crochet with her." Here's a quote I like. "The adolescents of my generation, greedy for life, forgot in body and soul about their hopes for the future until reality taught them that tomorrow was not what they had dreamed, and they discovered nostalgia." Amen. Loosely connected, well, like it's connected because it's 2 sentences before, but here's another quote just to add to it. Quote, "He said, 'The world is moving ahead.' 'Yes,' I said, 'it's moving ahead, but it's revolving around the sun.'" And those two quotes are building off of a concept that is established in the beginning of the book. The narrator works for a newspaper company, and he writes a column weekly, and people complain about it being outdated, and that there's always just this race for what's next, what's better. And I like how succinctly it's expressed in the second quote I read, that the world is moving ahead, but it's always revolving around the sun. That there is, that there's constancy in growth. Like, there's, like what I was saying, the like paradoxical, more oxymoronic truth that you can grow as a person and still stay the same. That the world moves ahead, but always revolves around the sun. For any Office fans out here, a pretty logically equivalent quote from the TV show. The Office is, I think Michael says it. He says, I wish we had known we were... No, maybe it's Andy. I don't know. I'm not Googling it. I'm going to Google it so I don't fuck it up completely. Should I just play it for us together?
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
That's the quote. I wish I... But the sentiment is similar, but Marquez's take is a lot more aggressive in that he's
Philadelphia had a lot to say about Zaxby's fried chicken Philly. Unfortunately, none of it is safe to air.
Targeted ads. You gotta love yourself some fried chicken. I was saying that the Office quote and that Marquez's quote are logically equivalent, fairly logically equivalent, but that Marquez's is more aggressive in that it kind of pinpoints the root of that, the root of not knowing you're in the good old days, to be that you're always striving for something more, like not living in the moment. Forgot in body and soul about their hopes for the future. I like the sentiment. You know, I'm all about trying to live in the moment or whatever, just to enjoy every day. Or just not to be, I don't know, I try and be content with my life. I'm back. I had to change my battery and get a drink. This is a coconut LaCroix, and it feels like what I imagine drinking sunscreen to be. And I like that. Spilled it all over my table. I hope I don't burp. Anyway, I'm back feeling less stupid. What were we were talking about The Office. I think Lord said this somewhere. Maybe she was probably quoting someone. She said, how we spend our days is of course how we spend our lives. And I like that sentiment. Whether it's from The Office or Gabriel Garcia Marquez or Lord, I like the idea of appreciating the present. And you gotta work to do it because it's so easy to, you know, have hopes, dreams for the future. Especially if your situation isn't that great and you want to like work towards something, but it's equally important to work toward enjoying the present. It is hard work to think about enjoying yourself. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Let's do a couple more quotes from memories and move on. Here's a basic quote, but I liked it. Quote, I had to swallow tears when they sang the birthday song. No, cut that. Here's a fun quote. Damn it, I thought blushing is so disloyal. Amen. Here's a quote that's representative of the regret of past loves or something. Quote, when the cathedral bells struck 7, there was a single limpid star in the rose-colored sky. A ship called out a disconsolate farewell, and in my throat I felt the Gordian knot of all the loves that might have been and weren't. Here's another quote. From then on, I had her in my memory with so much clarity that I could do what I wanted with her. Which is pervy, but this kind of made me think of the idea that desire doesn't lie in the actualization. Desire comes from a sort of unachievability, and this sentiment kind of gets at that he has her in his memory and can do whatever he wants with her, but he never, at that point, he's not doing anything with this woman. You know? Here's another of the age quotes. I answered with the truth, age isn't how old you are, but how old you feel. A very tame take that age isn't real, that people can be really mature at a young age, and that old people can be dumb as shit and awful and cruel. Like there's no, you know, age is pretty whatever. I've also met a 30-year-old who was really cool one time. So like age truly is, you know, what you make of it. The next quote also feeds back into the desires shouldn't be actualized, and when they are, it kind of ruins things or whatever. Quote, incredible, seeing and touching her in the flesh, she seemed less real to me than in my memory. Here's another good quote. The invincible power that has moved the world is unrequited, not happy love. Amen. Make no mistake, peaceful madmen are ahead of the future. Sex is the consolation you have when you can't have love. Cut. Another aging quote, not very interesting, but, well, fairly interesting. It just adds to the thesis, theme, whatever. There's a bug on my wall. You want to see it? No, I won't do it. I won't do that to you. Another I don't know if I left the fucking bug, killing a bug in. I guess now I have to leave it in the fucking footage. But there was a bug on my wall and I killed it and flushed it down the toilet. YouTube is crazy, guys. Anyway, here's the quote. Once again, I confirmed with horror that one ages more and with more intensity in pictures than in reality. Which is supposed to be like oh, I didn't recognize myself. But in Dorian Gray's case, Marquez was on the damn money. Another quote. When I walked out, the only feeling I had left in life was the desire to cry. Amen. Or, I shouted, the blinding lucidity of rage. True. Oh, here's a good one. I've always said that jealousy knows more than truth does. It just means that, you know, jealous people don't want the truth. Jealousy knows better. There's another quote, but it's like 2 paragraphs, so I won't read it to you. It's a scene where the narrator's talking to one of his old loves, and it's very, very moving. I'll read it to you. My videos are always long as shit. She sighed. Do you know something? In more than half a century, this is the first time I haven't received you in bed. We're not who we were, I said. She continued without hearing me. Every time they say things about you on the radio, applaud you for the affection people feel for you, call you the maestro of love, just imagine. I think that nobody knew your charms and your manias as well as I did. I'm serious, she said. Nobody could have put up with you better. I could not bear it anymore. She sensed it, saw my eyes wet with tears, and only then must have discovered I was no longer the man I had been, and I endured her glance with a courage I never thought I had. The truth is, I'm getting old, I said. We already are old, she said with a sigh. What happens is that you don't feel it on the inside, but from the outside, everybody can see it. Really, really good. I mean, he goes from, like, talking about fucking this bitch in her ass to that. Very, very good. No commentary. Quote, there's no greater misfortune than dying alone. I was reading recently a Clarice Lispector book, and I don't really like her. I respect the hustle, but she's not for me. We won't get into my in-depth thoughts on Lispector right now, but I was reading one of her books, and there's a quote in it, a line in it, that's like, please give me the courage to admit I'm afraid of dying alone. And I think that sentiment is sad and beautiful. And then for later on in the conversation between the narrator and the past love, the quote reads, but then she was serious. And this is her talking. Today I look back, I see the line of thousands of men who passed through my beds, and I'd give my soul to have stayed with even the worst of them. So sad. So sad. I like in a book some sort of admittance or concession of weakness in areas where it's the norm to be like faultless. Not that people are faultless in reality, but the only acceptable take on these ideas is a positive one. In this case, that society's only accepted view of love really is that in today's day and age that you should be marrying for love. And they're like, don't settle. Like, you'll find the one for you. Like, the whole soulmate culture and all of that. And then this quote, you have this woman saying that of the thousands of men who've passed through her bed, she would have given her soul to have stayed with even the worst of them. It's like very moving. And I believe her. I believe this fictional woman written by a 70-year-old man. I don't know. It's getting dark out. It's okay. The lighting's not too bad. I'm gonna have to cut that part. Okay, let's end on this quote. No matter what you do this year or in the next 100, you will be dead forever. Amen. Do whatever the fuck you want. You'll be dead forever, baby. That's all. Okay. One book down. The shortest book by far. Let's kick things up with my least favorite book I read for this video, and that is Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe. I hated this book. I really didn't like this book. What an awful book, and not in a like entertaining, spicy, like hot take, like, oh, it was too gory, it was too sexual, it was too whatever. Just awful in a like, it was so like fucking nothing that like I was like, you're kidding me, I wasted all this time. I read 100 pages of this book, a little over 100, which is about a third of the book. Then I really started getting frustrated. I was like, I can't do it. And so I got the audiobook from my library and started listening and reading along. And then at around 200, I put the audiobook on like 3 times speed and started rocking back and forth in my bed, and like my neck was twitching and I was getting so anxious. I just wanted to finish this goddamn book. And what a like prank of a synopsis this book is. Let me read you the synopsis so we can have somewhere to go. One of the most determined, energetic, and lusty heroines in all of English literature, Daniel Defoe's Moll Flanders will do anything to avoid poverty. Born in Newgate Prison, she was for 12 years a whore, 5 times a wife. By the way, these are all spoilers for the book, but I would never ever recommend you read it. So we're gonna keep going. Know that this is filled with spoilers that are completely there's so many better books that do the exact same things this one's trying to do. See the next book, or we'll talk about it. She was for 12 years a whore, 5 times a wife, once to her own brother, 12 years a thief, and 8 years a transported felon in Virginia, before finally escaping from the life of immorality and wickedness imposed on her by society. And that synopsis, I don't get why books do this. That spoils the entire thing. That's like a literal play-by-play of what happens to her. She gets married 5 times to her own brother, 1 point. I don't even know. I don't remember her being a fucking prostitute. I remember one line, maybe I'm making this up. I just don't remember her being a prostitute at all. I felt very baited into thinking that this was about a goddamn prostitute. Like, she's just sleeping with a ton of different men throughout the whole thing. So in a like colloquial sense, she's a whore or whatever, but there's so much wrong with this book. I'm like overwhelmed and I don't know where to start. Did I cover that this is like not about a prostitute? It's just a woman who marries different men and sleeps with, or doesn't even marry in some cases, and sleeps with them. This book is so improbable. I don't buy it. I don't fucking buy it. Moll Flanders marries this guy, moves to America, and realizes by talking to this guy's mom that she is this guy's brother, her husband's brother. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? In what world do you meet this random man and he turned out to be your brother? And then she just like keeps sleeping with people, whatever. And then, like at part 2 of the book, maybe like the last third, volume fucking 2, you see that? On the page before, she tries to marry men to become wealthy or whatever. And then like right as we're getting to volume 2, she like starts stealing shit. She like pulls a child into an alley and like takes off her gold bead necklace to sell. And it reads, it's first person. She says, I stooped pretending to mend the child's clog that was loose and took off her necklace, and the child never felt it, and so led the child on again. Here I say, the devil put me upon killing the child in the dark alley. The fuck? Like, we had a whole almost 200 fucking pages of Moll Flanders being a benign, dumb bitch who's like, I just want a man. Like, she starts out being like super, I want to marry the man who loves me. Or no, the man she loves. She doesn't give a fuck about the men who love her. And that's like very benign, dumb bitch shit. And then you get like fucking whiplash. She's like, she wanted to kill this child. And then this is the inauguration of the repetition of the phrase, the devil put me up to it. Yeah. Which becomes so exhausting. Like, you couldn't think, Daniel Defoe couldn't think of, who by the way is my fucking foe. He is my fucking foe. Couldn't think of anything plausible that would make a woman start stealing for money, and she just keeps doing it even though she has money, and that all of her accomplices are getting captured and hung. She keeps doing it or whatever. It's just not fucking plausible at all. And this book doesn't work regardless of what genre you view it in. It's supposed to be funny. I don't think I've said that. It's supposed to be comic, like a ha-ha. You know, like how sad things can be funny. If you look at it as a tragicomedy, this book is a failure because it is both unfunny and shallow. And tragedies are by their very nature never shallow. And comedies are by their very nature also supposed to be fucking funny. It's not funny. It like professes to be comic and like tries to be. I'm not fucking pulling up quotes. I have a whole notes app. We're not getting into this so we can get in and out of Moll Flanders. In and out of her like every other fucking man in this book. And if you view this not as a tragicomedy, but as what I thought this novel was going to be, I thought it was going to be like a reality novel, like an E.M. Forster type beat, because he literally blurbs on the back, celebrated as a masterpiece of characterization by E.M. Forster. No, it's fucking not. I would not call character development going from being a benign dumbass to like a thief who's controlled by the devil. Like, that's not character development. That's whiplash. Like, she goes from an innocent, young, beautiful, smart woman to a cunning thief who's ruined her life. And it's like, sure, on the surface, but it's so shallow that it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so what I was saying is that if you view this as supposed to be a realistic portrait of a prostitute, it's not. Another important note, Memories of My Melancholy Whores is written by a man and is narrated by a man. But the other two, both Nana and Moll fucking Flanders, are written by men with either female narrators or female main characters. And I'm not not a feminist by any means. I love misogyny as much as the next guy. Truly. If viewers of the channel, you'll know. We uphold misogyny and we hate women. But this, I found the quotes. It took me like 3 full ass minutes. And I'm calmed down now. The like quote where it is just so apparent that this was written by a goddamn man and like adds to it's not real. Like, it doesn't sound in any point like it was written by a woman. Like, it literally feels like a man doing like shit ass drag. Here's the quote. I found by experience that to be friendless is the worst condition. Next to being in want, that of a woman can be reduced to. I say a woman because 'tis evident, I fucking hate Old English. Because 'tis evident, men can be their own advisors and their own directors and know how to work themselves out of difficulties and into business matters better than women. But if a woman has no friend to communicate her affairs to and to advise and assist her, 'Tis 10 to 1, but she is undone. And then, right after that, he writes, when a woman is thus left desolate and void of counsel, she is just like a bag of money or a jewel dropped on the highway, which is a prey to the next comer. I can't stand this fucking brand of misogyny. This brand of misogyny being misogyny in classic books and books that are very well renowned, because the book itself is fucking shit. Like, why is there, you see this, why is there a fucking Barnes & Noble Classics edition of a book that sucks and is moreover misogynistic and farcical and shitty? Like, I don't get it, and it pisses me off. It's like, why are we... I love misogyny, but you have to be funny, or you have to fucking break your back making up for it with the rest of the book, with a good story, with good insights, good characters, compelling characters, whatever. And this book does none of that, which is why it's so aggravating. I'm not a revisionist, like, oh, how dare you. Like, this book was written 200 years ago. It was written in 1722. I don't know when women got the right to vote, but I'm sure it was after that. So the misogyny is, like, very tame, par for the course. I didn't read the intro to this. Sometimes introductions to classics really piss me off because it's just some, like, fucking academic nobody cares about who's being so self-important and, like, writing a book up to be something it isn't. And I after finishing this, I just wasn't down. By the way, you should not be reading introductions before you read a book. Oh my god. Another aspect of this book that was just so stupid is the, like, self-helpy nature of this book. It was, like, written by men for women. Daniel Defoe would just, like, preach relationship and love advice and, like, how to bag a man in 10 steps. And it was so stupid and annoying. And it was like, what? Like, no fucking prostitute, no, like, 20-year-old prostitute is gonna be giving this advice. At those points, it was so clear that it was written by a man and that it was a fucking book. Like, it was so not believable. Here's an example. I cannot but remind the ladies how much they place themselves below the common station of a wife, which, if I may be allowed not to be partial, is low enough already. Here he's doing his little feminist bit. He's like, oh, look, I'm a gals guy. I'm a gals guy. I'm one of the gals, you know, like, I get it. And it's written just, like, so... Woo! Which, if I may be allowed not to be partial... Daniel Defoe, you're not fucking fooling anyone. Like, everyone knows that your, like, man's ass self was writing this piece of shit. Later on, and the, like, feminism rings, like, all the more condescending. And I'm, like, losing my voice. Here's another quote. Nothing is more certain than that the ladies always gain of the men by keeping their ground and letting their pretended lovers see they can resent being slighted and that they are not afraid of saying no. And then it goes on for, like, an entire paragraph. And then it's just so stupid. Like, you're not offering anyone any meaningful relation advice. You're not doing anything, Daniel Defoe. I don't understand who reads this book and is like, that's my favorite book ever. I don't understand who reads this book and loves it, because we wouldn't get along. You're probably not watching this video. You're at this point in the video, I'm sure you have, like, quickly clicked off of the video if you like this book, because I just wouldn't respect you or your bookish opinions if you like this book, which is a rare instance of that. I try and be tame and, like, oh, different books are for different people, different strokes for different folks, but not here. This book is fucking trash. Comment if you like it and tell me why. Maybe you can change my mind. Oh, the footnotes. The footnotes in here. The like Barnes & Noble Classics edition has footnotes that would like let you know what was going on. You guys know what a footnote is. And they were so fucking stupid. I who published this shit? Like they would be like an old-timey word, and then it would be like an asterisk or whatever subsequent footnote it was, and then at the bottom of the page it would give like the definition of the old-timey word, which Google would just as easily give you. You're just like you're not familiar with the word, and you don't need a fucking book to tell you. If you're reading Moll fucking Flanders, you know what these are. Like, here's one. I scrupled it at first. It's like, you know what a fucking scruple is. And then it says, asterisk, had objections to. Which is not Daniel Defoe's fault, but it just added to, like, the general aura of what a fucking ridiculous book this was. What point were we talking about? Oh, I have a notes app. I think I said that. Here's my notes app. These are my notes on Moll Flanders. And then also, I'll like highlight and whatever the book. And I mean to like go back through and collect them, but I'm just not in the mood. These books were not very good. Save Melancholy Wars, but I'm not in the mood, so we're just flipping through. Going through my notes. This review's all over the place. No need for me to have said that, but this book is also such an awful failure because it's in so poor taste to try and consider topics as weighty as these: sex work, stillborns, dead children, incest, whatever, and it just be like so shallow, and you try and like make it fucking funny in a not tasteful way. Another note I had, which I'm past looking for quotes to back up my rants, but another quote, it's not a quote, another point that I fucking hated was the like dramatic irony bits when a character or would say something or something would happen, and it's like we're supposed to laugh at that character because they're like stupid or whatever. Like, I hate theater-esque dramatic irony that's at the expense of a character and not funny. It's just like, why are you bullying this character you made up, you know? Oh, also, all of the observations, if I haven't made this clear, were very, very juvenile. There was juvenile. There was like literally fucking nothing. Literally nothing. And the end, in part 2, book 2, whatever the fuck Daniel Defoe calls it, book 2 particularly is the same thing over and over and over again. Like, it became so repetitive that I was like, are you kidding me? Am I being pranked? Am I being pranked? I wasn't being pranked. It was the same thing over and over. It was just Moll would steal something, she would pawn it, and then she would go and steal something else, and she would risk her life to steal it, and then she would pawn it, and then she would get in trouble, and then she would get out of it. And it goes like on and on and on. And she would like look for men who were wealthy, whatever. And my head was spinning. I was like, this is so fucking boring. The entire book was boring. It wasn't even funny in its like awfulness. Moll dips in and out of present and past, I think. Like, it starts as past tense. It's like, you're about to hear my story. And then parts are present tense. I don't know. I'm getting all of the books mixed up. But I have a note here. And I said, past tense recounting puts too much distance, makes boring. And I agree. It was just like so boring. Like, you know, by virtue of it being past tense, that she never gets like caught and
Spanked.
or whatever, so it's just boring. And also, I was like, I don't want to hear you recounting stories I don't give a fuck about. This book is like what I think of when I think of a classic, or like that word. I think of an outdated book in Old English, puts down one group of minorities, is boring, is hard to get through, pointless and shallow, but fairly inaccessible to the average reader to be enjoyable, because it's like, well, if you didn't like Moll Flanders or this classic, it's because you're not used to reading classics and you can't understand it and you can't comprehend it. It's like, no. I got it, and this book was fucking terrible. But this is quintessential a classic. It has the like barrier to entry reading, and then everything after the barrier is fucking useless. Oh, let's end on a positive note with something I liked about. The last book I read, it was actually the first book I read for this video, was Nana by Emile Zola. And I thought that this would be the lowest it got, and then I read Moll Flanders, and I was like, I miss reading Nana. Nana follows a French prostitute in Paris. She's an actress, an awful one, but she has this very otherworldly beauty, and she's really hot, basically, and everybody falls for her. And it just follows her success in theater and her relationships with a lot of different men. And I didn't like this book. I thought it was worthless in that it's so far downstream from the pinnacle of adulterous, unhinged woman that it's just not worth reading. It goes like Anna Karenina, and then way below Anna Karenina is Madame Bovary, and then way below that is Zola's Nana. I would very sparingly recommend Madame Bovary to people, and probably not at all, because not many people have read Anna Karenina, and that's the book that I would recommend above all for the unhinged, sad, angry, adulterous trope. Madame Bovary has its redeeming quotes, aspects. I love the parts with, what's her name, Emily or something stupid like that. But there's just like a lot of fat in Madame Bovary. A lot of unnecessary society shit that I don't enjoy. But Nana is even farther down the list of that list. In that there's not much that's insightful about this book. And I felt like I just read better versions of every aspect of this book. I thought a lot about Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Suzanne while I read this book, in that one of the three women in Valley of the Dolls is an actress who becomes very prominent. And it's like how fame or like wealth ruins you, how getting what you want ruins you. I also thought of, this is a weird one-ish, I thought of Alison Lurie's Foreign Affairs. There's a character in there, I'm pretty sure she's an actress or a singer, she's an opera or something, but she's like very haughty and ruined by her success and just like very warped. And I thought about that, and I love Foreign Affairs, and I love Valley of the Dolls, and I love Anna Karenina. And with so many books to read, and those books nailing these themes and ideas, concepts, whatever, Nana's just like worthless. And I look on it in a slightly kinder state after Moll Flanders, which I think is unwarranted, because bad books shouldn't make me appreciate less bad books. Let's see what's in my notes for this. Oh, Zola's like low-key a bitch. He's mean. I know I keep talking about Moshfegh, and she's come to represent just like any mean description or abrasive or inappropriate descriptions of people, but I liked in Nana how some of the descriptions were like awful. They were mean. Oh, I learned a new word. I love learning new words. Catarrh, Catarrh, is, if I'm remembering correctly, when you eat something and it makes like snot go here. Let me Google it for you. Excessive discharge or buildup of mucus in the nose or throat associated with inflammation of the mucous membrane. I thought that was cool. I get catarrh sometimes. What else? Oh, in the beginning, I was so ready to like put this book down, call the video a just call it quits, call it a wrap, not film this video from the beginning of Nana because I forget how unbearable it is. There are so many characters. And then there are like dinner parties. And I kid you not, within each paragraph there are about 10 people mentioned. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? It's worthless. I hate this book. What else? Oh my god! I don't know if it's the let me tell you the translation. It's by fucking Helen Constantine. Did I show you the front? Helen Constantine. I don't know if it's the translation or what, but there was pronoun ambiguity throughout the entire book, and I got so frustrated. And by pronoun ambiguity, I mean when you like mention two people and then for the rest of the paragraph you're like, she said what she was thinking, and it was her fault that she thought that she wanted what the other girl had wanted from her, she, her. And it's like, who are you referring to? It was just too ambiguous. I don't give a fuck if it was correct grammar. Fuck grammar, by the way. You just gotta express yourself. There was no tension the entire book. No tension. These people do not know how to create fucking tension. Memories didn't need it, but Moll, Flanders, and Nana needed it so bad. Like you can't rely on the topic of prostitutes to be so fucking interesting that people are hooked the entire time. And there was like anti-tension with Moll Flanders because you know from the start that she doesn't get into any trouble and that she's a prostitute because that's the premise. So it's like, what am I reading this for? For the, as E.M. Forster says, gorgeous character arc that in actuality doesn't fucking exist. And then on Nana's part, it's like, what's the tension? She becomes successful and then not successful and then rich and famous. I just hate it. Maybe I'm a bit too upset at having read all of these books. I'm really trying to finish the books I read for this video. These videos. But it feels almost arrogant to like write a book with nothing to propel the reader through it. Like no sort of tension. No intrigue. And it's for that reason that I love Donna Tartt, that she's my favorite author. Have I said this before? I started this channel a solid 40 to 60%. I'll say 60. So I can say it's the majority reason. Preponderance reason. What fucking ever. I started this channel so that I can get an arc of Donna Tartt's next book. I started this channel to become a superstar just so I can get an arc of Donna Tartt's next book. And I need to make sure that that's out there. So I don't remember who publishes her books. I know Vintage publishes the paperbacks of The Little Friend and The Secret History. But I really want an arc of Donna Tartt's next book, and that was a serious contributing factor to why I started this channel. Anyway, it's why I love Donna Tartt, because Donna Tartt is extremely smart, a fantastic writer, and she fucking understands entertainment. She knows how to entertain. She's an entertainer. She's the real whore. You guys should watch Donna Tartt interviews. She's so brilliant. She's one of the rare instances where, you know, they say don't meet your heroes, where I like watched interviews of her and I was like, yeah, she's even more fucking awesome than imagined. I have a playlist of them. I'm not making it public. You can search them out if you so desire. Oh, I also meant to consider what these authors' stances were on prostitution, like the morality, ethics of it, their morals, what they perceive the ethics of prostitution to be. And I think they were all sympathetic. I mean, I guess you have to be to have written an entire book about them. Nana was a little more nuanced in character than Moll Flanders was, but it was still just like boring and it was not it. Yeah, for the note for Nana, I said Anna Karenina does adultery and society and being alone and desperation so much better. There's also a horse race in Nana. There's also a horse race in Anna Karenina. So reading Nana really felt like reading a much shittier version of books that I love. Oh, another take I have is that flashy topics for books are usually some of the most boring books ever. It's always the case. With prostitutes, these are boring as fuck, but like you get Howard's End and the plot is like two sisters in the countryside, and that's one of my favorite books ever. Another example of this is dark academia. We might talk about that sometime. All of those books suck. I will never ever read a book that is branded dark academia again. It's just like such a cop-out to use a flashy topic and expect the content to like somehow be flashy. Like if you write a murder mystery and you think that just because it's a murder mystery that it'll be fucking exciting. Well, it's not. There's so many boring thrillers. Anyway, the take is that I'm very wary of picking up books with flashy subject matters, flashy hooks, because it feels like you're compensating for something, you know? There was one part of this that was funny. This book did a 0 to 100 really quickly. This is like a mild spoiler, but you like know that Nana becomes debauched and a freaky girl by the end. Nana's just like so jaded with her wealth and her ability to get any man she wanted once. And this is like at the very end of the book. Here's the quote. Or else she being Nana, or else she would get down on all fours in her chemise on her fur rugs, prowling around and growling as though she wanted to eat him, and she would even give his calves a nip just for fun. Then she would get up again. Your turn now to be a bear. I bet you won't be such a good bear as me. A few sentences later. The old religious terrors of their sleepless night were turning now into a thirst for bestiality. A frantic desire for getting down on all fours, grunting and biting. And then a few sentences later, she treated him like an animal, following him around the room, kicking and beating him. Giddy up there! Giddy up! You're a horse! Get up there, you filthy nag! Walk! At other times he was a dog, and he loved this humiliation, relished the pleasure of being an animal. He wanted to go even further. He shouted, Beat me harder! Woof! Woof! I'm a mad dog! Give me a thrashing! Whatever gets you off, I guess. I like the later half of the novel because all of the superfluous characters just kind of drop off. I don't remember what I just said. Did I? I like the later half of the novel because all of the superfluous characters just kind of drop off, or you're acquainted with the two important ones so that you're not constantly reading paragraphs. My battery died. We're gonna have to wrap this shit up. Yeah, the later half was better because there were fewer characters. And the bedroom scene where she makes them be animals is really good. My battery died. I think that's a sign from above to stop talking about prostitutes and wrap things up. I guess a few good... A few nice aspects about this book that I haven't talked about. Yeah, I like the dominatrix plot twist. I also like the ending of the novel. If you don't want it spoiled, although I don't recommend this in any world, like literally read Anna Karenina or whatever, but there's just only one ending that kind of like makes sense for a Parisian prostitute novel written by Zola. Anyway, if you don't want it, skip ahead like 30 fucking seconds or click off the video because we're done. We're done with anything that matters, really. Here's the spoiler. She dies. And in the end, she's deformed by an illness, and I like Zola's contrast. He talks about the illness, her like smallpox, and how she's deformed and like her beauty's gone or whatever. And it really felt like Dorian Gray in the end when... This is a spoiler for Dorian Gray. So also skip ahead 15 more seconds. Yeah, but Dorian's painting is destroyed and he becomes ugly as fuck. That's it. One more note. I am never fucking trusting an Oxford Classics or just Oxford. Oxford World's Classics is what the book says. I'm never trusting a bitch again. Because, look at this. Oh, just a breeze, 200 pages. This book is almost 400. It's 375 pages. And I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. It was so fucking long, and I was led to believe that it would be nice and short. Like, look at Moll Flanders. This is Moll Flanders, and this is Nana. And look at how much thicker Moll Flanders is. And Moll Flanders is barely 300 pages. Fun tidbit, you see that how it's peeling? It pisses me off, or used to like really bother me. I mean, it still kind of bothers me, but the reason it does that is because I'll like hold the book open and it'll rub up. Magic. That's it for reading like a prostitute. This was one of the most boring videos I've ever done. That's all I have to say. These books were worthless. I would never ever recommend Zola or Moll Flanders. And I would never trust a bitch who says that they like either of these books. Zola, you can like Zola or whatever, but if you've read Anna Karenina, particularly Anna Karenina has become like my touchstone for every novel that considers any theme considered within Anna Karenina. But if someone has read Anna Karenina and Nana and thinks that Nana's even comparable, it's like, get a fucking grip. I don't like you. I don't respect you. I don't respect your bookish opinions. But there's just like no way. I can't conceive that happening. Anyway, I recommend you read Memories of My Melancholy Horse if you want a sad, perverted romp. That's it for the video. It's nice to be sitting down and chatting to the two people who watch through these videos. It was nice to talk. I'll see you soon. And that's a wrap. I'll see you next week.